Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. It's Jamar back from Vegas Sense. And in this video, I'm going over a new pickup that I just got in just yesterday. And this is gonna be Rehab's French Coffee. All right, so if you've been looking for this particular fragrance or you want to know how this particular fragrance smells, then definitely stick around for the video. And also for anyone new watching the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also to anyone watching the video, do me a favor, leave a like and a comment below. All right. So as you can see, man, this particular fragrance, it comes in just a really sort of simple box here. On the front, you have the actual name of the fragrance. On the sides, looks like you don't have really anything on the sides. You've got French coffee here on the top. And on the back, you have like the sort of ingredients. And then you've got like the manufacturer date on the bottom here. All right. So for the notes for this particular fragrance, the notes are coffee, vanilla, caramel, milk, sugar, cacao, and cinnamon. All right. So here's the bottle. I do know that this particular fragrance, it does come in like multiple different types of bottles. One bottle is square, I believe, and then you have this particular bottle, and then I think there's even like another one that it comes in. So this right now, this is the only version of the fragrance, or the only bottle version anyway, that I've seen become available here in the United States. And this really is only available, I want to say, on oudstore.com. And I believe I saw this on, it may have been like Aroma Concepts. All right. But yeah, just those two websites, at least from what I could see so far. So French coffee, this is another, really strong sort of coffee based scent. And I'm just going to spray this on my skin here. I did wear this yesterday to kind of get a feel for how this particular fragrance smelled. And just to kind of get like a quick sort of basis on like the performance of the fragrance, especially when compared to the Eternal Coffee, which I've worn this a few times now. I'll be doing like a final thoughts video on this particular fragrance pretty soon. But pretty much what I get when I initially spray this particular fragrance on is I get like a really sort of dark roast coffee mixed with caramel. I would say caramel is definitely sort of in the background for this one. It adds a slight sort of sweetness to it to kind of offset that, really sort of dark, bitter coffee note that's in this fragrance. I don't really get too much sort of creaminess from this particular fragrance. Definitely not as much creaminess as what you get with the Eternal Coffee. The Eternal Coffee, you sort of pick up on sort of like this almost kind of like coconut cream sort of feel from this particular fragrance. That's not at all what you get from the Rehab French Coffee. This, like I said, it's a dark roast, dark coffee. You do get some of the caramel in this particular fragrance. And what I would also say that you get is definitely you get the dark chocolate or like cacao, as well as just a slight hint of cinnamon. The milk and the sugar notes, I really don't get that from this particular fragrance. And I would even say even with the vanilla is not really something that I get with this either. At least on my skin, this does sort of remain like a sort of dark roast, dark chocolate, mixed with just a tad bit of caramel. That's the main thing that I get from this fragrance. And this is also a very linear fragrance as well. So I feel like pretty much what you get in the beginning of this particular fragrance is what you get for the entire duration of the fragrance. All right. So yeah, it doesn't really change much, at least on my skin anyway. Now, in terms of the performance that I got with this one, just wearing it yesterday, it did linger on my skin, so I can say that for sure. I probably sprayed this on like after my shower after work, which was like around, let's say, maybe 7:30. And by the time midnight came, I could still smell this on my skin, but it was a really, really faint sort of skin scent. So, I mean, I would say that in terms of like the decent sort of projection that you get from this fragrance, I probably got like a solid, let's say, hour and a half or so. And then it started to die down after that. And then in terms of how long I could kind of pick up on this without having to really sort of dig into my skin and, sniff it, it was probably for about, I don't know, maybe 4 hours or so, four and a half hours. Like I said, by about midnight or so, I could still smell this, but it was very faint on my skin. Now, again, I just got this fragrance in yesterday. So, this fragrance, I haven't let it sit or anything like that. And I would say more than likely, I would assume that if I do let this fragrance sort of sit for a little bit longer, it may start to perform a little bit better. I get better performance now out of this fragrance than what I initially did when I first got it. All right. So I'll go over performance for this fragrance in its own separate video. But right now, like I said, in terms of performance, as far as what I'm getting from this particular fragrance, I would say it's about 4.5 hours or so. All right. Now, in terms of which one I prefer, I mean, honestly, I can't really say that I prefer one over the other. I can say that the French coffee, in my opinion, is probably a little bit more sort of unisex, since it's not as sweet as what the Eternal Coffee is. The Eternal Coffee is, in my opinion, it is still unisex. I will say that. I don't have any problem wearing this particular fragrance. But what I will say is, because of sort of like the lactonic nature that this particular fragrance has, the creaminess, the extra sort of sweetness that you get from this fragrance, this is a little bit more so like on the kind of feminine leaning spectrum, in my opinion. But again, in my opinion, I think that this is definitely one that, men or women can definitely wear. But when it comes to both of these particular fragrances, I think that you do have to be like a lover of coffee. All right. You do absolutely have to love coffee to be able to appreciate these two fragrances and to actually enjoy them. All right. So if you're not really big on, the smell of coffee, these are absolutely going to be ones that you want to avoid, because they both give you like a really sort of realistic sort of coffee sort of note or smell. All right. So, like I said, again, the main thing that I get from the French coffee is just a dark roast coffee mixed with caramel and dark chocolate, pretty much. And then, again, with the Eternal Coffee, it's more so kind of like a creamed spiced latte, pretty much. With, like, let's say some sort of like coconut milk or coconut cream, something like that. That's more so what I get from this one. All right. So that's just my sort of quick initial take on French coffee. Like I said, I'm going to let this one sort of sit for a little bit and see if the performance in this particular fragrance starts to get better. Right now, in terms of performance, I would say that the Eternal Coffee, right now anyway, beats out the French coffee. But I do have a feeling that this might actually be the better performer once it sort of sits, because at least in the initial, sort of hour and a half or so, where this projects, this is definitely, in my opinion, a lot more sort of denser. It is louder than what the Eternal Coffee is, at least on my skin. So I do think that this may actually have better longevity in the long run than what the Eternal Coffee has. But, again, only time will tell. All right. So let me know, have you smelled our Rehab's French Coffee? Have you smelled the Eternal Coffee by Paris Corner? Which one do you prefer? Do you not like either one of these? Or do you like them, equally, both equally as well? All right. So let me know in the comments. Also, again, if this video was helpful to you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and also drop a comment. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Sense. I'll see you on the next video.